Sometimes, speaking English feels heavier than it should. You open your mouth, and nothing comes out. Or worse, you start a sentence, and then you stop in the middle because your brain just freezes. And you think, why is this so hard? I know the words. What if the problem is not your vocabulary? What if it's not your grammar? What if it's simply because your speaking muscles are weak? Not your intelligence, not your memory, your speaking muscles. And no one talks about this. Most students try to learn more English, more words, more rules, more notes, but they never train the muscle that actually produces sound. And today, we're going to fix that. Not in a complicated way, not in a stressful way, but in a very real, practical way. So if you've ever felt shy when speaking, if you translate in your head, if your mouth doesn't cooperate with your brain, stay with me until the end. Because by the end of this episode, you will understand exactly why you freeze and exactly how to train your speaking like a muscle. Slowly, naturally, confidently. And listen, if you're serious about improving your English fluency, not just watching videos, but actually changing, then subscribe right now. Because this channel is not about motivation only. It's about real transformation. My name is Clara, and today we're going to build something stronger than vocabulary. We're going to build your voice. And trust me, the last section of this episode might completely change how you practice speaking from now on. So don't skip. Just relax and let's begin. Good. So now let's go a little deeper, because here's something most learners never realize. You don't struggle with English because you don't understand it. You struggle because you don't produce it enough. There's a huge difference. You can watch English videos for hours. You can understand podcasts. You can even read books without translating. And still, when someone asks you a simple question like, "So what did you do today?" your brain goes blank. Why? It's not fear exactly. It's not lack of knowledge. It's lack of training. Let me explain something simple. If I ask you to lift a 50-kilogram weight right now, could you do it? Maybe not. But that doesn't mean you're weak as a person. It just means your muscles are not trained for that weight yet. Speaking works the same way. Your brain may know English, but your mouth is not used to moving in English. The sounds feel unfamiliar. The rhythm feels unnatural. The sentence order feels strange, so your system hesitates. And when your system hesitates, you freeze. This is important, because most students try to fix freezing by learning more grammar. But freezing is not a grammar problem. It's a reaction speed problem. It's like your brain is saying, "Wait, let me translate. Wait, let me check if this is correct. Wait, what tense should I use?" And by the time you finish thinking, the moment is gone. Conversation moved on. Now, here's the uncomfortable truth. You cannot think your way into fluency. You must train your way into fluency. Fluency is automatic movement, just like when you drive. When you first learned to drive, you probably thought about everything. Clutch, brake, mirror, signal. Now, you just drive. Your body knows. Speaking English must become like that. Not perfect, automatic. And that's why I call it speaking muscles. Because muscles don't grow from watching. They grow from repetition. Small repetitions. Daily repetitions. Not intense one-day motivation. Not, "Today I will speak for 3 hours and become fluent." No. Slow pressure. Consistent pressure. Let me ask you something honestly. How many minutes per day do you actually speak English out loud? Not in your head, not whispering, not reading silently. Out loud. Most learners, maybe 2 minutes, maybe 0. And then they wonder why their mouth feels stiff. Of course it does. You cannot expect flexibility without movement. And listen carefully. The goal is not to sound like a native tomorrow. The goal is to make speaking feel less heavy, less scary, less mechanical. Because once speaking feels normal, confidence follows automatically. Confidence is not something you build first. It's something that appears after repetition. And here's something interesting. When you train your speaking muscles daily, even just 10 minutes, your brain starts reducing resistance. The sentences start forming faster. Your mouth starts trusting itself. You stop checking every word for perfection. You start communicating instead of performing. That shift is powerful. But we're not done, because training your speaking muscles requires a very specific mindset. And most learners sabotage themselves without realizing it. They treat speaking practice like an exam. They speak and judge themselves immediately. That was wrong. My pronunciation is bad. I sound stupid. Of course your muscles won't relax like that. Imagine going to the gym and insulting yourself every time you lift a weight. Would your body cooperate? No. Your speaking muscles need permission to be imperfect. They need repetition without punishment. They need movement without fear. And in the next section, I'm going to show you exactly how to train them daily without feeling embarrassed, overwhelmed, or exhausted. Because there's a method that works. Not complicated, not dramatic, just consistent. But before we go there, I want you to notice something. Right now, as you're listening, your brain is understanding everything easily. That means your English level is not the problem. Your output system simply needs strengthening. And that's good news, because muscles can grow. Good. Let's keep going. So now you understand something important. Your problem is not intelligence. It's not vocabulary. It's not even confidence. It's conditioning. Your mouth has been conditioned to stay quiet in English. And we're about to change that. But carefully, because here's where many learners make a mistake. They try to train speaking in stressful situations first. They jump directly into conversations. They force themselves to speak with strangers. They join live rooms and panic. And then, when it feels uncomfortable, they think, "See, I'm bad at speaking." No, you just tried to lift 50 kilos on day 1. That's ego training, not muscle training. Real training is progressive. Small load, repeated movement, low pressure. Let me give you something practical. The first rule of training your speaking muscles is this: speak when no one is watching. Yes, seriously. You need private repetitions before public performance. When athletes train, they don't compete every day. They practice movements in isolation. So here's what I want you to try. 10 minutes per day. Only 10. Choose a simple topic. Your morning, your plans, what you ate, what you're thinking about. And speak out loud. Not perfectly, not slowly, not beautifully. Just continuously. Even if you repeat words, even if you pause, even if you say, and, that's normal. Those sounds, they are part of natural speech. Native speakers use fillers all the time. The difference is, they don't panic about them. Now here's something deeper. When you speak alone, your brain relaxes. There is no judgment, no social pressure, no performance anxiety. And when the brain relaxes, reaction speed improves. This is neuroscience, not motivation. Your nervous system must feel safe before it performs smoothly. If speaking feels like danger, your brain activates protection mode. Protection mode equals hesitation. So we lower the threat. Private speaking. Low stakes, daily repetition. And I know what you might be thinking. But Clara, speaking alone feels weird. Yes, so did going to the gym for the first time. So did learning to drive. So did everything unfamiliar. We're not chasing comfort, we're building familiarity. And familiarity reduces fear. Now, let's make this even more powerful. After you speak freely for 10 minutes, I want you to repeat the same topic again. Yes, again, second round. Why? Because repetition builds smoothness. The first time you speak about your day, it will feel messy. The second time, slightly better. The third time, faster. This is muscle memory forming. Your brain starts predicting the sentence structure. Your mouth starts anticipating sounds. You reduce friction. And friction is the real enemy of fluency. Not mistakes, friction. You don't freeze because you're wrong. You freeze because your system feels slow and resistant. So we remove resistance through repetition. Now, let's talk about something most learners ignore: volume. You must speak clearly and audibly, not whispering, not mumbling. Your mouth muscles need full movement, jaw opening, tongue stretching, lip shaping. Yes, speaking is physical. That's why I call it training. If you only think in English silently, you train the brain. If you speak out loud, you train the whole system, brain plus body, and fluency requires both. Now, here's another shift. Stop correcting yourself in the middle of speaking. If you say something wrong, keep going. Correcting mid-sentence breaks flow. Flow is more important than perfection at this stage. We are building stamina. Later, you can refine accuracy, but right now, we build endurance. Let me give you an image. Imagine your speaking muscle like a rusty door hinge. Every time you open it, it squeaks. If you stop opening it because of the noise, it stays rusty. If you keep moving it daily, slowly, the squeak reduces. Movement removes stiffness. Silence increases stiffness. So ask yourself honestly, are you stiff because you can't speak? Or because you rarely move the muscle? That question changes everything. And here's the encouraging part. If you commit to 10 minutes daily for 30 days, your speaking will not be the same. Not because magic happened, but because repetition always wins. Consistency beats intensity. Small daily action beats random motivation. And in the next section, we're going to talk about something even more important: the emotional side of speaking. Because even strong muscles can freeze if emotions interfere. Great. Now we need to talk about something a little uncomfortable. Because even if you train your speaking muscles every day, even if you repeat topics, even if you speak out loud consistently, there's still something that can stop you. Emotion. Yeah. Not grammar, not vocabulary, emotion. Let me explain. Have you ever noticed that when you speak alone, you're actually not that bad? You can form sentences, you can explain ideas, you can keep going. But the moment someone looks at you, your chest tightens, your breathing changes, your mind speeds up, and suddenly, the same English disappears. That's not a language problem, that's a nervous system reaction. When you feel observed, your brain switches into evaluation mode. Don't make a mistake. Say it correctly. Don't look stupid. Speak fast. Be impressive. And the pressure increases. But here's what's happening underneath. When pressure rises, your brain shifts energy away from creativity and into survival. And speaking requires creativity. You are building sentences in real time. If survival mode is active, creativity slows down. That's why you freeze. So we need to train something else alongside your speaking muscles. Emotional tolerance. Yes, you must practice feeling uncomfortable without stopping. This is powerful because most learners stop speaking the moment they feel awkward. They say, "Sorry, my English is bad." They laugh nervously. They switch back to their native language. They escape. And every time you escape, your brain learns something dangerous. Speaking English is risky. Avoid it. But when you stay in the discomfort for just a little longer, something different happens. Your brain realizes, oh, nothing bad happened. And slowly, the fear reduces. Let's make this practical. After 2 or 3 weeks of private speaking practice, start adding small social exposure. Not big, not dramatic. Small. Maybe answering one question in English. Maybe ordering something in English. Maybe sending a voice message instead of text. Just tiny exposure. And when you feel that small wave of nervousness, don't run. Breathe. Slow your speech, accept imperfection, and continue. This is how you build emotional strength. Speaking muscles plus emotional tolerance. Now here's something that might surprise you. Confidence does not come from speaking perfectly. Confidence comes from surviving mistakes. Think about that. The people who look confident when they speak English are not perfect. They simply don't collapse when they make mistakes. They keep going. They smile. They adjust. They continue. That's strength. And strength is built through repetition under mild discomfort. Not extreme stress. Mild discomfort. So the next time you feel your heartbeat faster while speaking, don't interpret it as danger. Interpret it as training. Your nervous system is adapting. That sensation? It's growth. And let me tell you something honestly. The first 20 times will feel awkward, maybe even embarrassing. But around the 30th time, something shifts. You realize you didn't die. You realize people didn't laugh. You realize most people are too busy thinking about themselves to judge you. And suddenly, the weight decreases. That's when your speaking muscle and your emotional system start working together. And that's when fluency begins to feel natural. Not perfect, natural. But we're not done yet, because there's one more mistake that silently weakens your speaking muscles. And most learners don't even notice they're doing it. So this last piece is subtle, very subtle. And honestly, this is where many learners sabotage everything without realizing it. They train, they speak alone, they even expose themselves to small conversations. But they do something that quietly weakens their speaking muscles. They consume far more than they produce. Let me explain carefully. Listening is powerful. Reading is powerful. Watching English videos is powerful. But if your input is 10 times bigger than your output, your system becomes passive. It becomes comfortable understanding, but lazy producing. And production is where muscles grow. Think about this. If someone watches gym videos every day but never lifts weights, do their muscles grow? No. They understand exercise theory perfectly. They know form, they know techniques, but the body doesn't change. The same happens with English speaking. You might understand 90% of what you hear, but if you only speak 5% of the time, your speaking muscles remain underdeveloped, and then you feel confused. Why can I understand but not speak? Because understanding is mental recognition. Speaking is physical execution. Execution requires repetition. Now here's the adjustment I want you to make. For every 20 minutes of listening, speak for 5. Yes, intentionally. If you watch a podcast, pause it and summarize what you heard out loud. If you read something, close it and explain it in your own words. If you learn new vocabulary, build sentences immediately. Don't store words, use them immediately. Because vocabulary that stays in your head becomes passive memory. Vocabulary that leaves your mouth becomes active skill. And fluency is active skill. This is important. Many learners wait until they know enough to speak confidently. But confidence doesn't come from knowing enough. It comes from using what you already know. Even if it's simple, even if your sentences are basic. Basic but spoken beats advanced but silent. Let me say that again. Basic but spoken beats advanced but silent. And here's something else that weakens speaking muscles. Perfectionism. You try to sound advanced. You search for complex vocabulary. You hesitate because you want to impress. And while you're searching for the perfect word, the conversation moves on. Fluency loves simplicity. Clear, direct, natural, not complicated. Strong speakers often use simple words, but they use them smoothly, and smoothness feels powerful. So from now on, give yourself permission to speak simply. Instead of searching for a sophisticated word, choose the easier one. Speed over complexity, flow over perfection, movement over analysis. Because movement builds strength, analysis builds hesitation. And here we are. Let's zoom out for a second. You now know 3 major things. First, speaking is a muscle that needs daily repetition. Second, your emotional system must feel safe enough to tolerate imperfection. Third, input must be balanced with intentional output. If you combine these 3, something changes. Not overnight, not magically, but gradually. And gradual change is stronger than dramatic change, because it lasts. Now imagine this version of you 30 days from now. You wake up, you speak for 10 minutes about your day. You don't freeze, you don't panic, you don't overthink every sentence. You just speak. Not like a native, but like someone comfortable. And comfort is powerful. Because once speaking feels normal, your identity shifts. You stop saying, "I'm bad at speaking." You start saying, "I'm improving." And identity shapes behavior. So here's your challenge. 10 minutes daily, out loud, no judgment. Repetition, small social exposure, balanced input and output. That's it. Nothing extreme, nothing complicated. Just training, slow muscle growth. And remember this, fluency is not about talent. It's about tolerance. Tolerance for repetition. Tolerance for imperfection. Tolerance for discomfort. Build that, and your speaking will grow naturally. Finally, let's close this in a way that stays with them, because this is not just another lesson. This is a shift. Listen, most people who watch English videos will finish this episode, feel motivated for 5 minutes, and then go back to passive learning. They'll scroll, they'll watch more content, they'll tell themselves, "I'll start tomorrow." But you're not most people. You stayed until the end. That already says something about you. And here's what I want you to remember when this video finishes. Your English is not blocked. It's unused. Your voice is not weak. It's untrained. There is a big difference. You don't need a new brain. You don't need a new personality. You don't need to become extroverted. You just need repetition. Calm repetition. Daily movement. 10 minutes. That's it. And some days, you won't feel like doing it. Some days you'll think, what's the point? Do it anyway, because muscles don't grow when you feel motivated. They grow when you stay consistent. And one day, and this will surprise you, you'll start speaking. And you won't think about grammar. You won't search for words. You won't panic. You'll just respond. Naturally. And in that moment, you'll realize something powerful. Fluency was never about learning more. It was about using more. That changes everything, doesn't it? So here's my request. If this episode made you think differently about speaking, don't just like the video. Commit. Comment below and write, I will train daily. Not for me, for you. And if you're serious about building real English fluency, slowly, naturally, without stress, then subscribe. Because this channel is not about shortcuts. It's about building strength, voice strength, confidence strength, mental strength. And we're just getting started. My name is Clara, and I truly believe your English voice is stronger than you think. You just have to train it. I'll see you in the next one.